have this identity as a Navy SEAL. Like, this is my job. This was my passion. This is what I wanted to be, as we said, since grade school. And seemed like it was getting stripped away from me, but I was getting my kids in return. And honestly, the scariest part of that, minus losing my identity and my job that I loved, was that I had no clue what I was doing. The war in the flesh overseas in Afghanistan, Iraq, and Africa is a cakewalk compared to the spiritual war. Something that we started, something that we blew up. That's our responsibility.
Savage is too nice of a word.
What do you say? Yo, he was having a rough day? It really comes down to this. How bad do you want it? Because that is what we think a man is.
They're setting you up for failure. They're sending you out on the battlefield with no weapon.
For you know that when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow. We're back. Welcome to another UNAFRAID podcast. We are doing chapter Mike. And I don't remember what the title of this is. Do you? Do you?
No.
No, I don't either. It's Mike.
This one's a big change of pace from the last.
Yeah, this is where things changed.
Yeah, the last few have been really focused on your career. Mm-hmm. The chapters themselves go in a little more into the family stuff, but we've sort of kicked that can down the road. But we can't do it anymore because that's the whole chapter. This
is kind of where I realized how pathetic I was as a man/boy.
I would make the argument that this is where you became a man and rose to the occasion.
So there's two frames of mindset we can go with. I'm going to go with yours. That's good. That's very good. See that? Learn something new every day.
Yeah. So the point of this chapter is that you're at the peak of your career. You're doing what you've always wanted to do. You're taking bad guys off the planet. But things back home are worse than bad. Mm-hmm. You've got plans to leave your marriage.
Yep.
And you're all ready to drop that the next time you're home, and then you're on a deployment, and your then wife tells you that there's a baby on the way, which changes everything.
Yeah, so I had a plan to move out. Like, that was going to be what I was going to do, because just it was bad. And again, like I've said many times, like I was the contributing factor tremendously to that. But yeah, that was going to be it. And then I got a email or call about halfway through a deployment I was on stating that she was pregnant.
Pretty
so everything changed. So I was like, okay, so I'm not going with plan A. I will be staying right where I am and trying to figure this out.
Yeah, you're going to owe it to that child to try to make the best of it you can.
That was the plan.
Didn't really pan out that way.
Didn't end up that way.
Even I think well before he was born, you realized it wasn't going to work, and you moved out.
Yeah.
Moved in with some friends.
Yep.
But you're still trying to function as a father.
Mm-hmm.
Tristan ends up being born very premature.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. I was born at least 6 weeks early, I think. At least 6 weeks.
And THC in his poop.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously some substance abuse stuff going on.
Yeah, and there was definitely more than that going on during that pregnancy, which is why, what I hate saying, but it is the truth, is I was like, when she told me, I was like, well, maybe we should push for an abortion, is because I didn't want to have another kid with her for selfish reasons. I was not thinking about the child's life.
Right.
That's the truth. And that's disgusting. And I was wrong. But she was like, no, we're having it. And I'm so glad that she was firm on that. Like, I'm so glad that that's what happened.
I mean, he's an awesome young man now.
But I just knew what was going on, and I didn't want anything bad to happen.
Right.
And that was going on clearly. Just, thankfully Tristan was good to go.
Yeah, that was there was really no win in that situation, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you probably couldn't see a happy ending coming out of that.
No.
Things did work out, but so you guys start the divorce process.
Mm-hmm.
You're sort of in that separation zone, and you make this deal. She's going to move to Tennessee with her parents and go back to school or whatever, which is going to help the kids. Mm-hmm. But you're going to obviously still be in the kids' lives and everything else. When she moves to Tennessee and basically falls off the planet.
Yeah, radio silence. There was no communication. There was no talking on the phone. I mean, the story that was painted is like, hey, I need to move out to Tennessee where her family moved to get away from Virginia Beach. And what she painted was, which is very true, is like, I'm always on training trips. I'm always on deployments. She's like, at least let me try to get on my feet. Go take some college courses. My parents can help out while I go through school. And I was like, you know what? Yeah. I'm like, I've been selfish my whole time. I'm like, yeah, that would be good. Like, it sucked because also, as we mentioned before, that there was a shooting school out there, Shaw's, that we were always at. So they were very close to that. So I'm like, well, anytime I'm out there, I can see them or make weekend trips or whatever it was. But yeah, as soon as she went out there, nothing. I mean, I remember weeks going by and I'd hear from my kids, and that was probably the hardest thing. It was horrible.
So you made the decision you're going to sell the house, right? Because they're out of the house. And you start getting the house ready to sell. You're painting. You're on a ladder. And what happens?
So we're painting, getting the house ready to sell, and then my pager goes off and kind of knew something was going on and had to go into work, and we blew out. We have like 1 hour once that goes off, and we blew out to off the Horn of Africa to take down a very bad guy that we knew about.
So you guys are operating off a ship, right?
Yep.
Flying on little birds.
Yep.
And these were part of the organizers of what the Kenya and Tanzania bombings.
Yeah.
98, I believe that was.
Yeah. So, yeah. And that was all about them, and took those dudes out. It was a very quick, came with our little birds, take them out.
Daylight, right?
It was daylight. Got what they needed. It was just an hour south of Mogadishu, and we've all heard and seen, the story on Black Hawk Down. So it's like, dude, we cannot let these guys get to even close to that, or else we didn't want to have a certain situation. We were a smaller team that they had there.
Yeah.
But I think 19 guys got lost and lost their lives and that. So we took them out as a quick, I think we were on the ground for 1 hour in that country, took them out, and then we took the bodies and boom, went right back to our ship.
It was actually, I think one of the photos in the book, I believe it's in the book, is you holding the body bag with one of these.
I don't think we said that.
FBI.
But yeah.
I know what's in that bag. And there's a story, this isn't in the book, but it's just a crazy story to me. And if you're cool that we're going to talk about it. So there's just a whole intact brain on the front seat of this SUV.
Yeah, I remember it got taken out by one of our, I think some machine gun fire from one of our little birds. And I remember walking up to the vehicle, and the brain that we're talking about was the passenger. It was his brain and ended up in the lap of the driver's side. And what was weird about this particular brain is it was fully intact.
It didn't look like it was damaged.
It looked like it was at a science experiment, like, hey, we're going to go take a look at the human brain. It was literally sitting in this guy's lap, like it was placed there. Here's this guy's brain. And I was like, that is insane. I've never seen something like that before, ever.
Yeah.
And haven't ever since.
That's why that to me, I don't know anybody else who's seen a brain in somebody's lap, so I had to bring it up.
That's my first too.
Okay.
So,
first and last.
Definitely didn't walk up at peek into the car and be like, wonder what brain we'll see.
Terrorist mastermind.
So there we go. Death is weird.
You come back from that, and now you're, again, faced with your family situation, the reality of what's going on. So you went to court to try to get to see your kids, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was the whole thing was like, I wanted her because of the radio silence once they moved out to Tennessee, was like, hey, you need to come back to Virginia Beach and we'll do the 50-50 custody thing. And she didn't want anything to do with it. So she painted this beautiful story. I was believing it, even though it wasn't the truth, was that I made her drink. I made her do these illicit drugs. I made her do all these things. And that's what she sold. And, the judge asked, is like, well, do you do those things now? And she's like, no, absolutely not. So before, I told my lawyer, I was like, hey, I think we need to do a drug test. And especially when she said that, my lawyer's like, we're doing a drug test.
She had to tell, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I knew she was lying. I could just tell. I'm like, she's totally lying right now. And I was like, I will do a drug test because I'm like, I'm clean. I'm ready to, we're good. So, like, hey, we request a drug test, and I could see in her face, she's like, oh no, I knew it. And I was like, I'll do one. And she didn't even make me do one because she knew I was clean.
Right.
And so she popped, she lied. So her story was just bogus. The judge was like, boom, that doesn't matter what you say. So the judge's like, you move back to Virginia, and she refused. So her lawyer dumped her, and then the judge called my lawyer, and my lawyer called me and said, Eddie, go get your kids. So I went from operator to working to get 50-50 custody.
Be careful what you wish for.
To taking care, being the sole, like, raising my kids up.
And you were as I recall, 2 weeks out from a deployment, right?
I went into Corps looking like the Geico caveman with a scraggly beard, long hair, and a cheap suit. Yeah, that's what I was.
And yeah, so now you're switching gears from absolute opposite, almost like I don't know if there's a better analogy, Kindergarten Cop, but it's like...
It's pretty close. Or The Pacifier with Vin Diesel. I
didn't see that one.
You haven't seen it? That's a good one.
Because I have little kids, I haven't seen any movie in the past 10 years. So I don't, other than like Frozen 2.
Right,
whatever.
which is a great show.
So that's pretty crazy. And honestly, that's the part of the story that sold me on this being a book, not just the 37th SEAL memoir.
Yeah,
but
this is what it's about right here.
Yeah, this is where you have to totally switch gears. You don't know anything about this stuff because even though you've been a father, you've been a pretty absent father.
Very absent. Yeah,
or training,
it was
or
pathetic.
working, or part of it just functioning your job.
And it's honestly, it's how a lot of dads are today.
Oh yeah,
I was pretty much what they would call me a normal dad,
which is sad.
Yeah, it is very sad.
But all of a sudden, you had to become a real dad and a mom.
Yep,
and
everything in between.
What's that like? I mean, you pull up and you drive away. You pull up an operator, scared of nothing, and you pull away with your kids in the car.
Yep, and I was lost. I was so lost. I think we've talked about this. We talk about it in the book. I talk about it surely on our podcast and other podcasts. I had this identity as a Navy SEAL. Like, this is my job. This was my passion. This is what I wanted to be, as we said, since grade school. And seemed like it was getting stripped away from me. But I was getting my kids in return. And honestly, the scariest part of that, minus losing my identity and my job that I loved, was that I had no clue what I was doing. I mean, Tristan was 10 months at that time. Samantha was 5, I believe. And Kayla was either 9 or 10. And, dude, I mean, I say this a lot because this is one thing that just sticks out of my mind when we get here, is I remember being in the grocery store wondering if T, because he's a boy, ate different than the girls did. I like, this is legitimately going to my brain. I mean, like, one's in the cart, the other two were like holding on as we go down these aisles. I'm like, dude, I'm not capable for this. I'm not qualified. Like, where's the school for this? And that's when that's where the real forging started.
And fortunately, your girls are an age where they can be somewhat helpful.
Yeah,
especially Kayla.
Dude, Kayla was so awesome, man, with helping with Sammy. And then when Sammy got a little bit older, she was she helped with Tristan big time. I mean, which sucks, is they kind of got forced into like somewhat of a mother role.
Right.
Which I hate for them. They missed out probably on some normal childhood things. Like their thought process shouldn't be, I need to take care of my sibling. It should be like, I need to be a kid, and that's the way it is.
Yeah, but if you look at times other than the ones we live in now, where people had huge families on farms and things like that, I think there was a lot of that, of older siblings.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there was just too much work.
Because what is normal? I don't know what that is anymore.
Yep. My mom had an older sister that was 10 years old that basically helped raise her. And that was just the way it was. I think about, my kids were closer together, but I was raising them with my wife. And I think about how difficult that was and how just exhausting, and I don't remember anything. And one of the things I think about when I read this chapter is there was a couple times this happened, but one specific time where I had all 3 kids in the bathtub, and one of them decided to poop in the tub.
That's
You're
great.
A parent, you've been there.
That's awesome. Dude, that's so good.
I looked over my shoulder for the adult to ask, what do I do? And I realized that I was the adult.
You're the adult.
Holy crap.
I know, man.
So you just start pulling kids out, wash them off, and shower,
detox.
And I had 3 basically babies, so it was pretty crazy. So you were in pure survival mode at that point.
I was. I mean, because now the trauma stuff is starting to come out. I remember before, like when I was on pretty much machine mode, like go, just, deploy, rinse and repeat, deploy, rinse and repeat. It's when I got kind of pulled out of that is when it's the crack started surfacing and the drinking became more, the pill popping became more, because I did not want to feel, I didn't want to deal with these emotions. They're talking about feelings and help me with things. I'm like, the only thing I really know how to do is blow down a door and shoot a bad guy. Like, and now we're talking about like, hey, how does my hair look? Do these shoes match this dress? And it was overwhelming. Right. Like, crap, it's trash day. This has got to go out. What's for dinner tonight? Can I even get a workout in today? Like, me.
Yeah.
Like all these things started coming up and like the cracks really started forming.
Well, and then, I mean, you're at home, but your guys are still overseas.
They're still deploying.
Adam passes during that time.
On that one deployment, yeah, the guys blew out. And that's when Adam passed.
And you would not have been with him. You were in a different troop.
No, I would not have been with him.
So
he actually just got moved the one prior.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would not have been with him.
But you got that call, and now I'm sure, would have rather been with the boys dealing with that grief, right?
Yeah, it's weird how that is. People might be like, you'd rather be dealing with the death of your boy than your kids. And at that time, yes.
That was your world.
That was my world. That was everything. That's all I knew.
Yeah.
It's sad.
So, I mean, honestly, you see this as a failure, and maybe I'm sure there's a little bit of kidding there, but to me, this is the defining point of your life. This is when...
This is.
Yes.
I agree with you.
This is the Eddie that I know now was born on that day when you drove away with those kids.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And
it goes back to that forging thing is, it started off with push-ups and then I'm running at a full sprint. It's the same thing of like, wow, my new mountain started with those kids.
And I've seen you the way you are with your kids now, and it's, you're at the running and shooting bad guys in the face.
Yeah, now it's like good stuff. Now it's good stuff.
Yeah, and I've really, I've spent a good bit of time with your family, and it's a cool, blended family where everybody's getting along and you guys do a lot of stuff together.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, little stuff like, it made me think about time I'm spending with my kids. I mean, I remember one time, maybe an hour, just outside the whole family and me shooting baskets, like in the dark. And it was so cool.
Yep.
And so you've come a long way.
I know, man.
From the guy in the Cracker Barrel.
I know, dude. That's in the book.
Yeah, read the book. But I'm proud of you, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it, buddy.
I'm proud of you for all your military stuff, but I'm honestly, would you say this was actually harder?
Harder and more worth it. God, every time we talk about them. For sure, dude.
Yeah.
It is taking care of kids because one, it's selfless.
Right.
And going from just a selfish human being going to taking care of those kids where it was about them and not me. Dude, I had to unlearn so many things and relearn things, and that took years. I mean, years.
And I know you thought at the time that you were irreplaceable as an operator, but the fact is you're irreplaceable as a father.
100%.
There's only one.
100%. And more men need to realize that your job that you're in, that you're so important at. If you didn't show up one day, they would have a replacement in about 24 to 48 hours. Period. Your family, it's a little bit different.
Yeah. And when you think you have distractions or you think you have it tough, and look, we all have, life's real for all of us, right?
100%.
But the reality is you're probably looking at stupid stuff on your phone. Mm-hmm. The amount of time that we now spend, and I'm absolutely guilty of it. One of my kids will be talking to me and I'm looking, and I have to.
We all are.
I try to, at a certain point at night, put that thing away, and I could totally justify, this is for work. Guess what? There are no emergencies in my job, right? I can address what my child needs from me and then deal with that later.
Yep.
And that's something we could all do a better job of. I heard somebody say that, of our generation, the parents, some of them chose alcohol over the kid, right? And they were competing with the alcohol for their parents' attention and time. Now they're competing with something far more addictive, which is that flashing box.
Dang phone, dude.
Yeah.
Dude, Amanda and I went out to lunch yesterday, and there was a dad, you could tell it was a dad and a son, and both of them are on their phones. And the dad's like got like earbuds, like watching things, like showing him things, like he's literally just and I'm not judging, and
right.
I don't know everything that was going on, but you could tell that that's what was going on. Like having a face-to-face conversation with your blood, that was not as important as being your face in a little 6-inch screen on what some fake crap is going on in the world.
Right. And I just came off a 5-day family vacation, and we don't do that. We've never been those people. And I know it's easy to hand your kid a phone and they're entertained.
So easy.
But easy is not right, always. Often not right.
Yep.
And we got more compliments from people working in restaurants, like, you have such a nice family. And what they meant is like, you guys are actually communicating with one another.
Like humans.
Right. And
it's
how
insane.
else are my kids going to learn those social skills if they don't learn them with us.
Correct. That's
right?
that's a huge problem we see in the society today.
And it was startling to me to walk down the street and the number of people, and a lot of them were foreign tourists, but the number of people that were like filming themselves and doing TikToks and all this stuff. I'm like, there's a real world here, and half of these people are living in some fake world. I mean, it was like startling because I don't really see that where I live.
It's ridiculous, dude.
Not that people aren't doing that, but like,
right.
I'm not a destination people come to get a selfie for, right? So I'm not seeing people line up to take pictures of themselves.
People will take time and just to get one selfie that's quote unquote good. But they could have learned Mandarin Chinese.
Right.
It's like, bro, or get your priorities straight.
Enjoy the moment. Right? See the world through your eyes, not through Apple's lens.
Yeah.
It's I don't know how we got on that tangent, but
I don't know, but I like it.
That's good. I could go on for weeks about how. And
people watching are like,
nobody who doesn't.
Everyone that's watching is like, I'm on my phone right now watching you talk.
Yeah, those people keep watching.
You keep watching. Stuff. You're good to go. We're learning things here.
You're bettering yourself.
We're having fun here.
But look, not many of us have lived the career that you have. Not many of us have seen the combat that you have. But all of us see the effects that the phones are having on our families and other distractions are having on our families.
100%.
So the lesson here is your dad, be a dad, be a good dad, be the best dad you can be, and think about what's important. On your deathbed, you can worry about how many likes you had or be proud of those kids that you raised.
Yeah, that quality time. And if you think that you're that dad that's like, no, I've got it all figured out, that's when you need to go figure it out because you're never done leveling up no matter what you do. There's never a top. It's like we need to be doing better all the time.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. Yep. It's got to be about them, not us.
Well,
is that it for Mike?
You've raised a nice family. I've met all your kids, spent some time around all of them. And so I sort of judge people by their children.
But I definitely want to say this for this chapter, and I think we talk about this in the Hot Wash, is this, or I definitely do it when I speak on this stuff, this is when I've learned, because we have an issue with this identity as I'm a Navy SEAL, or I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, right? I am these things, I'm a competitor, whatever it is. We have those identity issues. We associate ourselves with what we do.
Right.
But if what we do is lost,
what do you have?
What do you have? That's a question for everyone. It's like if you are what you do and what you do is lost, who are you? Like really ask yourself that question. And when I was at that time, what I was a little toddler. I wasn't a man. I was not capable of taking care of 3 kids. Thanks to God, I was able to do those things. But I was a huge poser. Posing to be a manly man, what we would call the alpha in today's society, which is a huge joke in itself. But seriously, ask yourself, who are you without your job? Who are you? Like, what are you to your family? It's a hard question.
Yeah, I think people can spend their whole lives chasing something that is at the end of the day not that important.
Yep, you're absolutely right.
Well, good deal. So now that we've shamed all of you into being better dads,
don't worry, we're guilty as well.
Right. But that's it for this chapter.
That's it, man.
All right.
Awesome.
Thanks,
See you guys.